Hi witches! So today we are delving back into the world of deity work and deities and deity worship. So I wanted to give first and foremost, a huge shout out to Emily, who is a mod on my Discord, but also a just wonderful human being. So please definitely go check out her Instagram, give her a follow, she seems very nice. So yeah, anyways, go check out Emily. I left her social media and her Instagram down below, so please go give her a follow. Thank you. But anyways, today I was asked to chat about the deity worship side of deity work, which is not something that we talk about a lot as witches. I think that there is a big taboo about using the word worship in terms of paganism, and I totally get that because a lot of people, myself included, are coming from a place where worship kind of had negative connotations within the Christian church, or worship is associated with the Christian church and we have negative associations with that. I hope that makes sense. So without further ado, I did want to talk about a little bit more of that aspect of my personal experience. Now, this is all going to be UPG, or unverified personal gnosis, so this is just what I've experienced. And I think I'm going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow's topic is not recommended by anybody. It's just something that I wanted to talk about, and I felt like it was a good segue from this video to go to the next one. So you'll see it tomorrow, or if you're a patron, just watch the next video. But basically, I think that it took me a really long time to accept the term worship, because for me personally, it did have that negative connotation. But for me, the worship of my deities is different than the worship of, you know, going to church and worshiping the Christian God. So for me personally, I feel like the working relationship that I have with my deities is a core tenet of the way I worship them. So I know that's like probably not like a great answer, but I feel like the reason that I worship them is because of what we have achieved together, if that makes sense. So like, for example, the Morrigan has helped me out so much in my life. Like, she has just completely changed a lot of stuff for me, and has been there for a very long time for me. And I just, like, my heart gets full when I talk about it, which is not something that I ever had in church. I was kind of just, I feel like I was just told, like, hey, you're supposed to like this God, right? Because we told you so, and if you don't like his rules, then like, that was my experience in the church. I'm not bashing Christians. I'm not saying all Christians are like that. I have met some very lovely Christian people. However, I feel like, my relationship and my working relationship and my worship relationship with my personal deities is a lot more fulfilling, and I think that's because it's like natural. Like, I always felt very unnatural in a church. I was like, what is this? But when my deities came to me, it's because they chose to work with me and I chose to work with them, and it was never like a forced thing. So I think that is like how, like, the basis of why I I am a pagan and I worship deities. Now, to be a witch, you do not have to work with deities. I am not saying that. I never want to say that or make it feel like that, because it's not true. But I personally do, and that has been a core tenet of my practice for the longest time. Now, another thing I wanted to touch on, that I see kind of like not misconstrued in the pagan community, but I want to make sure that I touch on it, is offerings and deity offerings, because offerings and giving offerings is a form of worship. So in Christianity, I feel like that was not a thing. Like, we never offered stuff to God. I think there was actually kind of a taboo against that, right? Because like there was the whole thing about like the burnt offerings at the altar of Baal. Like, I like specifically remember that because I was traumatized by that story by my like abuser, so it was just like a whole thing. I feel like if you are coming from a Christian background, you might be like, oh well, okay, people are talking about deity offerings, which means it must be a physical thing, so I must like give gifts and like monetary, like spend money, which is like very also a Christian thing. If you remember the collection plate that went around to fuel the church, that doesn't exist for me in my practice. Like, it does not have to be a monetary thing. Offerings to deities can be an act. It can be, you know, feeding crows for the Morrigan, or spending time in nature to walk with Hearn for me, or playing with my cat for Bast, or going to a cemetery and laying flowers, which is kind of monetary because but like I could pick flowers and like go. It's that one, I guess, is a little bit weird, but you know, like, that is how I work with Anubis, is going to cemeteries and just sitting there and just being like one with my surroundings, and, you know, contemplating the concept of death and why that scares. It's like a whole thing. So that's kind of like where I'm talking about like my working and worship like kind of intermixes a little bit. I feel like because the pressure is not on me to do this, like it is because I am choosing to do it, my relationship with my deities is so much stronger than any connection I've ever felt to like the Christian God. That being said, my deities also present themselves in a much different way, right? Like I feel like they are more like real to me. I know that seems very strange and like a really weird way to say it, but like I feel their presence a lot more strongly when I'm actually like in the ritual space or when I am openly worshiping and praying or whatever. And I have felt like that almost. It's almost like a more personal touch. I don't know how to explain this very well. I'm so sorry. I'm really bad at explaining like feelings, but I feel like my connection with my deities and the reason I worship with them is because it feels very real and very natural to me to do so. So it doesn't, like, for me, it's not like I have to get up and go to a building in order to worship. Like, I can do that whenever I want. I'm not trying to say that Christians only worship in a church. Like, that's not what I'm saying, because I do know that people pray outside of church. Of course, I understand that. However, I feel like there isn't like, I don't have to say like 8 Hail Marys in order to be a good person. Like, I can just thank my gods for helping me with something. I feel like it's a much more personal relationship where I'm able to kind of like stand, not side by side because they are deities, but almost like at eye level, or like where as Christianity, I felt like I was like looking up at this like being. I don't know how to explain that. I always felt like really inferior when I was like in church and stuff, whereas with my gods, I don't feel necessarily like this inferior thing groveling for forgiveness. So that is why I choose to worship. Experiencing deity worship is a very personal topic, I think. So I do believe that it kind of has to do with your relationship with your gods, right? So I know that's not a super good answer, and I am really sorry about that. But I think that there is this whole like mindset going on right now that like, or at least on TikTok, but like that is not like the best place to get information. Please don't do that. I try to like give as much good information as I can on there, but like, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of crazy things that I have seen on there. But I think one of the main ones I see is like people like freaking out because they can't like light a candle in time. And I'm like, why is time a factor? What are you talking about? Your gods like know that you're busy. Like, you realize that, right? Like, it's fine. Even if you don't practice for a while, it's not like they're going to smite you. Like, that I feel is like a very like Christian thing to think. I don't want to be mean, but I feel like that is how I was taught in the church. It's like, if I'm a bad person, God is gonna like hate me, like fear him. Whereas like my relationship with my deities, I was terrified of Hecate, to be fair. Like at first I was like overwhelmed, but now like a couple weeks later I'm like getting used to it. So it's less of that like I fear and more of the I am intimidated, but I understand and I'm excited. So again, not everyone's experience with Christianity is the same as mine. Not everyone's like experience with like paganism and deity worship is the same as mine, and that's okay. That being said, all of that being said, I would love to hear about your experience with deity worship. If you want to leave them in the comments below, and if you have any other questions about deity work, again, I am doing a Q&A on Saturday. So definitely like leave me a question if you want me to answer it, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!